Hey everyone! This video was made in cooperation with Elventus. Elventus is a new and fast-growing coaching organization dedicated towards helping gamers to turn their passion into real-life skills and careers. Click the link in the description to get 50% off of your first coaching lesson. And now enjoy the video.
Okay, so I want you to walk me through kind of like your thoughts on how you think you should play this game and like where you need to go in order to win. So like basically identify your win condition is the first step, and then capitalize on it. So like in this game, just tell me like what lanes are important, where you think you have prio, who needs to win for you to win, kind of like where your volatile lanes are and like where you need to put attention early game.
Alright, so I go through the lanes from top to bottom. Top lane, I think, well, it's weird. The last time I saw Lucian versus Darius, the Darius was snowballing hard and Lucian couldn't do anything. But ranged top laners should have the advantage over melee top laners, so Darius doesn't have TP. Once he gets behind and gets ganked by the Garen, he will fall behind even more. So, well, if he gets ahead though, with Ghost he can just run over the Lucian, he's squishy and he should be able to kill him easily. So I thought, well, if I get the Darius ahead, that should be pretty good. But I don't know, it's top lane and, well, top lane doesn't really have impact.
You're already on that page. Okay, so now you have that lane matchup figured out, right? Compare Darius to the rest of the team. Even if he gets ahead, how much impact is he going to have versus the rest of that team?
Well, versus Tristana in Teamfight, it might be hard. She's just going to ult him away and he won't be able to do much. Well, Cassiopeia too, she has her ult, he can't just run up at her. So it's kind of hard for him later on to do something in teamfights. However, he should be strong as a split pusher. But he doesn't have TP, so he's, I don't know, it's pretty bad when he split pushes and we're fighting 5v4 and he can't join us,
So a lot of those things are negatives, right?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, so with that being said, what's more important than him?
Well, let's talk about mid lane. Mid lane has a great CC setup for me to gank. Once she hits her bubble, it should be really easy for me to follow up with my Q and get the free kill on Cassio since she's immobile. But, well, I'm not quite sure about Zoe. She's quite hit and miss if she doesn't hit her stuff in team fights. And, well, okay, two of them and Lulu are immobile, so it shouldn't be that hard for her to hit her stuff. But she's not that reliable, so I'd rather focus on bot lane, actually. However, ganking bot lane, I don't know, it's weird. Like, how am I supposed to gank Tristana? She's going to jump away, so I can try to get the Lulu, which I did in that game. Mainly focused to get the Lulu, but yeah.
One big thing about playing jungle that not a lot of people think about is like you don't actually have to get ganks off to be doing your job. But think about what Caitlyn Morgana wants to do in their lane. And there's like one thing that comes to mind when I see this lane, and do you know what it is?
Tell me.
Okay, they just want to push, right? They both have really long range. Morgana helps push the wave with W. Caitlyn has Q, longest range AD in the game, right?
Yeah.
Tristan is the shortest range at level 1 with Lucian. So she is just going to push the wave in, right? And if someone pushes their wave, what happens?
Well, I have priority and it's hard for me to gank them, but I could invade with them. However, I don't know.
So they can invade
Tristana has lots of wave clear with her E-passive and stuff, so it might not be that easy for her to push. Okay,
it's basically just like they just want to hit tower, right? And Caitlyn, if you think about her power curve, has a really weak mid game, but strong early game, strong late game, right? So regardless of whether or not Caitlyn's on your team, it's volatile either way, right? Whichever jungler goes bot first, basically Caitlyn will get snowballed on. Either she snowballs really hard or she gets snowballed against really hard. So if she ever falls behind in this lane, Trish just jumps in over and over and over again, and she can't do anything. Like, once Caitlyn falls behind, she's a really useless champion. So, like, every time I see Caitlyn on my team, I'm basically like, I have to go bottom, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's, like, against me. It doesn't matter if it's on my team. It doesn't matter what the rest of the lanes are. Like, Caitlyn becomes the highest priority because she becomes so useless if she comes behind, right? The rest of these champions still function as long as they can get items, right? Like, Zoe, no matter what, can hit bubble and be useful. Same thing with Darius, right? He can kind of just always scale. And regardless, like he's against someone who's ranged who can't really just like completely run over until he gets more items. Like he probably needs like 1 or 2 items just to start running over the guy. And even then evolution builds like Bort Cleaver, it still becomes pretty hard. So like everyone functions except for Caitlyn, right? And does their job unless like Caitlyn gets behind. If Caitlyn gets behind, whole game plan just gets completely doomed. So you don't have to gank them. But you do have to make sure the other jungler is a non-factor, right? If they're constantly shoving under tower, basically like she's just have to sit here the whole time and farm, which means their bot lane can't do anything. All you have to do is make sure that like they continue to win that lane. So if you just set up bot side vision and control bot river here, and kind of box the Garen out, then you don't actually have to gank it to make sure they're successful, right? If you watch pro games a lot, you'll notice they start like opposite sides of the map to like where they want to go usually, or they'll start this side of the map and then split it so that they completely box out the enemy jungler, and make it just a non-factor for the first like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to go for the split, but it didn't work sadly. But we'll see that later on.
So it's really hard to split against Cassio because of the strong level 1. So I would just say probably you have to start top side. And I know that you're starting blue on Soul Jungle is like really rough. The other thing you can do is like, as long as you cycle your camps correctly, you can just start bot side and kind of get level 3 and then maybe go bot. Or just set up bot side vision. And then you can largely ignore your top side camps.
Yeah.
Do you know what camp cycling is or like rubber banding means?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so basically whenever you kill a jungle camp and it respawns, it's coming in at the average level of the game. So like at level 1, everything spawns in at level 1. As soon as you kill it, it kind of sets it on cooldown, and then when it comes back up, whatever time it comes back up at, it averages the level of the game out and then spawns in at that level. So it becomes worth more and more XP as the game goes on. This is why a lot of people focus on clearing 1 or 2 camps like almost obsessively, and making sure they're there like as soon as it comes up, just so they keep getting that constant like refreshing camp in, and that helps them keep up an XP. So you'll notice people like focus really hard on this camp or this camp usually, or the combination of the two. Or if they're starting blue side, they'll focus really hard on this and this. It depends on where you want to be. So like if you want to spend a lot of time bot side, you could focus on clearing these 2 camps so that the other jungler can't counter jungle them while you're sitting here. And then like these camps will be protected because you're already bot side. So like your main objective this game is like just allow bot lane to win. If ever they have a window to go in, like Tristan Lulu, you just need to be there and not let them play the game. Like if you don't like actually gank them, but just walk into the lane and show yourself, they can't all in. And then Caitlyn Morgana just shoves. In pro games a lot, you'll see the other AD against Caitlyn Morgana take teleport so that they can actually base. Because otherwise, like they're never allowed to base because their wave's constantly at their tower. But if that's the way your bot lane wants to play the game, then like you have to be here basically permanently. So you just have to identify like your first win condition here. And like it's really important that you go into games kind of having an idea of what you want to be doing, and stick with it. So like if you have a game plan, it's really easy to kind of change and adapt that plan. Without ever making it in the first place. It's really hard to change it, right? Because it doesn't exist in the first place. So make sure that like when you're going into games, you kind of have an idea of where you want to go, and like you'll get better at this like over time, figuring out which lanes are important. But just as a general rule of thumb, Caitlyn lanes are really volatile. So usually path into your volatile lane, and like if it snowballs once, it's kind of over. So we'll see what you do. You said you went for the map split, right?
Yeah, I usually start Raptors or red buff on Soul, because Soul with red buff is just insanely strong. And well, when I'm on red side, I start Raptors because I don't want my top laner to leash. I don't know. I feel like if they help me on red buff, they fall behind a lot and they have problems. And Soul has such a healthy clear. I don't mind starting Raptors. I
haven't played Soul Jungle since the rework of it, but yeah, I'm not sure how the clear is now. It used to be not great. Okay.
So yeah, I tried to go for red buff into Raptors into Crux, and then I went for my usual bot lane gank with EQ. The new EQ combo is insane, but well, you'll see in a second. That's like my usual.
I think the new W is so good.
It is good for the jungle, but
yeah, not for mid. For jungle, it's a lot better because the old one, you literally like couldn't turn your W on. It would just like never actually hit the camps. I feel like I'm one of the very few people who can actually say I've tried this. It used to be really annoying.
Okay, yeah. Caitlyn died in the dry bush
Hmm.
there. I don't know. I could have gone with them to cover them, like after red buff. I've seen some jungler do this, and they actually got a kill instead of the enemies who trap getting something. So I thought to myself, hey, why did I go to Raptors instead of the Tribush to help my bot lane? I could have saved them. But,
Yeah, so
well,
that's one thing. But you did your first clear here, right?
yeah.
Now, do you know where Garen started? And I know that there's a spectator bug so that you can actually see it.
Yeah.
But now that you know this, where is Garen on the map?
Well, I knew he was topside because enemy bot was in the Tribush, so that was pretty
Yeah,
obvious.
so he started topside. So what are his options from topside there? Like, what are the two things he could have done?
He could invade my jungle, he could go top lane and gank top, or could go to his blue.
Okay, so there's three options there, right?
Yeah.
Of all those options, what's the easiest one for you to counteract? And how do you get information on which one he actually did? Because like now that you have a hypothesis, right, you got to narrow it down to which one is he actually doing. So we have to go try to figure out information, and then we have to figure out, okay, so if we go to one of those things and the other thing happened, how hard do we get punished for it? So like we can go to our top side and check, or we can go to their bot side and check, right? And which of those scenarios is better for us?
Well, I mean, I'm about to gank bot lane anyways, so after ganking bot, I was checking on his blue, trying to get Scutty as well. So I
Okay.
got the information of where he is.
So if you gank bot immediately, where can Garen be?
Well, he could be at his blue buff right now, but Garen isn't really scary for me. I don't know, he can just run in and that's it. So, well, we have Caitlyn Morgana. We're stronger, in my opinion, than when he counter ganks me. I can just cut it out and be fine.
The first thing you need to do before you go for this is get any sort of information, right? Going bot is fine, but you need to drop your ward like here first, in case that he went for this option, right? So like we know his three options, right? You can go bot and you have to counterplay one.
Let's say he started red, did, I don't know, maybe wolves into blue buff. Where would he be right now? He would be at blue at the very moment, right?
At blue. So what did I say about like the lane at the very first thing we like talked about in here? Like you don't actually have to gank it, right?
Yeah, I just want to cover them.
You just want to make sure that Garen doesn't interact with this. Yeah. Like because you can box Garen out, right? Like he can't really touch you. You just kind of stun him and walk away, or just like auto him with red. So he can't really do anything to you, right? If you just look at him here, he can't gank bot ever, right? So you just have to put some sort of bot side vision here if you want to actually go bot, just to make sure that like you guys don't over dive or something, or go like here and then Garen wraps around you guys. But you just need to double check where he is, right? And then on the same vein of that, like if you get any sort of intel on him now and check to see, okay, is his blue buff up, right? Then we know what to do afterwards, because then we can assume what? If his blue buff is up right now and it's still up after we gank bot, what do we assume?
Well, he's on my blue.
Yeah, right. And then you're safe to take his bot side, and that's really good for you because you guys trade evenly, and then your bot side camps are getting cycled, so you get these like every time they come up. And then you split map, they can't play the game.
Yeah, that was my
original
plan.
goal. Yeah.
Yeah. But it didn't quite work out, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But like that's the mentality behind it, right? As long as there's like a reason behind what you're doing, then it's totally fine. Do you know what time this camp respawns now?
No, I don't know the timers.
So that's important to start knowing. It's 2.5 minutes for the little camps and then 5 minutes for buffs. So buffs are pretty obvious when they're coming up because they're timed, but these are just as important. So not only is knowing this camp respawn timer important, now that you know Garen started red, and you get intel on him, you count a CS, then you know what time his camps respawn, right? Yeah. So not only does that help you track him, if he does something out of the ordinary and doesn't go to these camps when they respawn, you take them. And then they're cycled camps, so they're worth more. And taking someone's camps is worth twice as much as taking your own camp, because you're getting it and you're also denying it from them. So then these become very, very high value for you. So they respawn at like 4:30 essentially, because you do this camp at 1:30, right? And kind of the general rule of thumb that I like to use is like every camp takes about 15 seconds to do. Just for every jungler, just kind of averaged out so you could like kind of know. Obviously that's not completely exact, but it's a good like reference point. And just knowing like, okay, someone's clear is fast or slow, you can kind of adjust your estimation based on that. But basically make an estimation, like make a hypothesis about what he's doing. And then you can try and figure out like what times his camps respawn. That'll help you track. But then we actually have to go and get the intel. And that's what these wards are for, right? We got to go check these. We see, okay, did he do his Gromp? Did he do his blue here? What camps did he do? If he's not here yet, we know he did his full topside. If not, then we know he did one camp on the way, that kind of thing. So now we're just trying to look for intel. And then after this respawns at 4:30, what time does this respawn?
Well, the 15 to 30 seconds later.
Yeah, right. So it takes us like 15 seconds to do it. And then like a couple seconds of walking time.
Yeah.
So it'll probably respawn around like 4:40, 4:45, somewhere in there. So we should know that. We should know that for these as well. Okay. So, right, this is perfect, right? Now afterwards, look at what lanes have prio here. So you get a death timer, right?
Yeah.
How do you punish the death timer as much as possible?
Well, I thought now Lulu is dead. I can go check their blue buff. We have priority. But
so do you actually have priority here?
No, we actually don't, because the minion wave and also Cassio seems to be pushing. But I still wanted to check it.
Yeah, so you just check, but you know you can't commit, right? That's the thought process now. You gotta like just tab to your lanes real quick. You don't have priority here. You actually don't have priority here either. What's the best way for her to manipulate this wave?
Do you mean before she recalls to let it?
So is she going to recall is the first question you gotta ask.
She should no, she shouldn't. She has 3 pots in her inventory, so she's probably going for the freeze.
Yeah, she wants to freeze us, right?
Yeah.
So that means no priority. That means we probably can't go for this. So we can ward it, but we can't commit because now they're coming back from base, right? And they can walk straight to this. We actually don't have priority, even though we get the death timer. So first things first, like after you get a successful gank, you need to figure out, do I need to help them push this lane? Like, how do I set this wave to be in the best state possible? And like here, you just leave it frozen, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe we would have wanted to push it if it was like in a different state, but here is like perfect for us. So now all we need to do is like say, okay, we ward here, we check for Garen, we figure out what he's doing. Is he on his bot side camps? Is he on his top side camps? We got to go figure that out, right? So like maybe you just pop this vision plant and try and find him. And then we don't really care too much about these camps, like at all.
Well, but I popped the plan and I saw he's still top side, which is why I went for his blue, because I thought, hey, he's probably doing mine right now. So yeah, I should do his. But I didn't notice his wolves were gone, so that was an indicator for him being bot side.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because like this is up, right? So we didn't check this first either. And then we should know, okay, their bot lane's got priority, right? And their mid lane's missing. Something's up, right? If everyone's off the map, we can't do this. So you just ward leave. Not the end of the world. Okay. So how do we recoup from this now? So you're gonna base, which is fine, and then what?
Yeah, I thought I'd go topside now to get my blue and help out Darius, that because I was still scared of Lucian snowballing him.
So before you do your blue, what's the first thing you need to check when you go topside here?
What do you need to check? I don't know.
Okay, so where's Garen right now?
On Scotty, probably.
Yep. So what vision do you have right now?
Well, I only have
here.
those 2 wards here.
So where is he going to go after this? What are his options after here? You saw he has 6 TCS. You saw his wolves are gone. His blue and Gromp are up.
Yeah, he would probably clear his bot side jungle, but I don't think he can go bot lane because there's the freeze. And it's really hard for him to do something there. Well, but...
So is this actually frozen?
Doesn't look frozen anymore. They somehow messed it up, apparently.
So with that...
Okay, they want to push again. So, that makes
where
them vulnerable for Garen to gank because he's bot and I'm going to go topside.
Yep. So Garen's here. His options afterwards are going to top crab, right? And to his bot side jungle or to gank bot. So of those 3 options, I think you probably go topside because you have no camps here. There's like no way that you do this. What time does it respawn?
What did we say? We cleared it at 1:30 or something, and
So
it's
this
up at
this was
3.
at 1:30, right?
Yeah.
So you did this 1:30. It
And
died at
this,
1:45, and then you
okay, so
cleared
this
this.
up at 2 minutes, and
Died at
then should
2.
be up in almost a minute.
So it's
Here.
40 seconds from now.
Yeah.
It's up at 4:30. Okay. So your game plan now is to get the highest XP. We go back here at 4:30, which means anything up here we don't care about. You have some downtime right now, and one option that Garen had was going here to here, right? You have this ward here, you have this ward here. He's not going to be able to cross through mid. So if he doesn't cross through mid, he's going to have to go all the way around to get this, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for him to do. So I would just immediately run to this crab here and try and check to see if it's up. Because if it's up, you need to take it right away, right? Because this is a neutral objective. This is not guaranteed for you. You can't just leave it up. You want to grab this, then your blue buff, and then these camps don't matter because they're level 1. This would be the next thing that you care about. And then based on what's happening down here, this wave is going to push, right? So we just want to beeline it bot, basically, and control bot side river. So like we have some decent vision bot side. Now we need to figure out, what does Garen do after his bot side if he doesn't go here? Will he base or will he go bot? Right? Those are the two options. So we got to eliminate one of them. We have to figure out where he is, which means we need to pink like in here if they're going to be pushing. Pink here, whatever. I think this is probably the best pink you could do here because they don't have any pinks in their inventory if they're going to be shoving up. So like they're going to be pushing after this. You need to identify which lanes are pushing. This, like, even though it's pushing into you, doesn't mean you have to go gank it. We don't care about this lane unless it's like super, super free, right? This just doesn't matter. This is the most volatile thing on the map. You have to make sure that they can play the game. If they can't, like, your whole game's just over. So let's see what you do.
Yeah, obviously I go top lane because he's pushing and he looks free to me. He's low.
Yep.
I go in, free kill.
So I think this is fine because it's really quick, right? So to do this, what did you sacrifice?
Probably a Scuttle Crab in case Garen went topside.
It's
And
a
my
very
bot
big
lane.
maybe, right? We don't know where Garen is right now. We
Yeah.
had to go check. So we can kind of assume he's still bot side because he didn't show on the sword and he didn't show on the sword yet. So like that leaves pretty much this, and he's not here yet, right? So that's pretty much what you can assume. What time is his camp coming up right now?
Which one?
Or what time did it come up? His respawn camps.
Well, they respawn at the same time as mine, basically.
Right. So this is 4:30 now. It's up.
Yeah.
This one's up, right? Because he did red Raptors or red Krugs Raptors. Well, he literally just full cleared, right? So now that we did this, we can't really help bot anymore, right? When they push, they're going to be overextended. So because we can't get here without just crossing the whole map, we need to look to punish on the opposite side somehow, right? So like just getting this death timer is good, but you need to do something with the death timer, right? So now we got to check where Garen is. So where do you put your vision to track him now?
Well, I could place a deep ward in his jungle, but I don't know. I'm so scared of going in there. So I didn't go there. I just cleared my own camps.
If you find Garen, aren't you fine? You just walk away, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to be scared if you know where their lanes are, right?
Oh,
The
but
death timer
Lucian
guarantees.
has... Yeah, okay, he's still 15 seconds down, but it takes some time till I reach a point where I want to put down my ward, so... You could TP.
So if you see the
behind her
TP,
somewhere,
you can
I
just
don't know.
dip, right? They have no setup. You can just walk away. Don't be so scared about like invading, basically, because this is all about getting intel, right? You don't have to do anything with the invade. You just have to find them. Just looking at them and seeing them on the map relieves so much pressure off your team, right? Like now we can assume his options are either base after this or go bot again, right? If he goes bot, you're in position to already punish on these, right? If not, you find him and then he can't do anything either. So regardless, going into his jungle here is the correct call. I think probably going to river to check here and then warding his raptors is the easiest thing because, like you said, Lucian has TP, right? So this kind of becomes off limits. But what time does this respawn now?
In, I don't know, 30 seconds maybe? Or 20 seconds?
15-ish. Yeah, 10 to 15 to 20, somewhere around there. So if you know that, where does he want to be on the map now if he can't gank bot?
Well, he could go topside to clear his camps, but he knows I'm topside, so he could try to invade me as well.
Okay, yep. So we need to check, right?
Yeah,
If he invades
I
you...
have no clue where he is. Like, I can't
yeah.
know.
Basically, you just need to get the intel first, right?
Yeah.
Find the information. That's the most important thing. Without information, you can't do anything in this game. So basically, you'd want to go in and ward here. Just get some information on his camps, right? If he's not here by the time it respawns, you take it, and you're just watching carefully your side lanes, right? Like where Lucian is. Did he TP? If not, you know he's not going to be there. Is mid moving? If not, then you know you're probably fine. But get ready to just like leave. Just a lot of people fall into the trap of like only thinking about their own jungle, and they're not thinking about
That's me.
anything that's going on in here, right?
Apart
If you're
from the
only
blue.
clearing your own camps, yeah, like basically they just do whatever they want then. If you're never making an attempt to like go into their jungle to counter jungle or just get information, the jungler just does whatever, and then like if your lanes die to jungle ganks, then you're not able to complain because you didn't do anything to like try and stop it, right? Like you're both playing the game, you're both trying to get ganks off. If he happens to find one and you didn't try to stop it, like you didn't try to find information on him and figure out what camps are up and where he's going, then it's on you too.
Yeah.
So like when you have death timers like this, like bot and top, your first goal is get information, right? Or punish them somehow for the death timer. So here you'd at least want to just run to crab, because doing this, again, we don't care about it, right? What do we have up on the map that's more important than this?
Well, basically everything is more important than Grom.
Right. This is more important than this. This is more important. These camps are more important. This absolute last thing we care about on the map. Like it's not a buff, right? So it doesn't matter as much. Blue we care a little more about, but I still think going to your blue here is kind of bad. Because it doesn't really do anything for you. This, you're denying something from him, right? So this is like worth twice as much as a normal camp, because you get it and you deny it. And then these are worth a little bit more than twice the rest of the stuff that's on the map because they're respawned. So we want to just go in here right away. This is all a huge time waste. So how much time did you spend here where you're not doing raptors?
The fun thing is, I was playing this game on stream, and I actually told my chat that it was a stupid move to go to Gromp, but I finished it nonetheless because I already started it. I wasn't autopilot there, but I don't know how to turn off autopilot sometimes. It's awful.
So the best way to not autopilot is just ask yourself why you're doing something or before you do it, right?
Yeah, before I do it, but I just realized when I've already started it.
Yeah, so you should always be asking yourself when you do something, what's the next play? What's the next play? What's the next play? Every time. So that way you're never going to autopilot because you're at least justifying to yourself why you're doing something. If you have a reasoning behind something, it doesn't matter if the reasoning is wrong, right? We can work on fixing the reasoning and coaching. That's the whole point. But if you just say, oh, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do this. I just started doing it because I felt like it. Like, that's just like, oh, okay, well, how do we fix that, right? Like, there's nothing to fix there. It's just, okay, well, think about what you're doing before you do it. That's like the simple answer. So here, like, this obviously makes sense just because it's up. We don't want him to just take our blue. You need to start getting this cycled so you can give it to mid, or you can just get more XP from it, either way. But here, like, we skip wolves, or should, unless we do it like really fast, because our raptors have been up for a full 2 minutes now. So now, look what happens.
Yeah, he took him.
So he took him. This is the highest value camp on the map for us, besides Krugs, right? And this has been up for 2 minutes. So not only did we not take his topside camps and find out where he was, so we didn't know that he was pathing down, we lost this camp, which is the most XP we could have gotten as of 2 minutes ago. So these camps do not equal this camp, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that before. That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah,
something
so
you don't know is a mid lane main, yeah.
Yeah, you'll watch a lot of junglers skip camps if you watch like pro players. They skip the same camp over and over. It's not, they don't skip randomly. They'll pick a camp to like not really do because of their first clear. And this is a really good example. Whenever I play Elise, I got this from Odd Orange, but what he does is he does red Krugs Raptors or red Raptors Krugs, and on the Raptors he smites the big one when he Qs it in spider form, so he one shots it, and then he kills two little ones and leaves it. He just leaves it counter jungled on his own jungle because he never cares about going to it. He just never wants to actually give the other person a chance to take it. So he doesn't care about cycling it. He just wants to deny it from the other person, because if it's up, right, and he keeps killing it, it's time that he doesn't want to spend on this camp. He doesn't want to be topside. So he wants to kill Krugs and just dip to bot, right? He just always wants to be bot lane. So if he's bot, obviously this is going to be up for grabs. So he'll just dip it and like leave this forever and like just never clear it. The only time he clears it is like when you don't ever have to be bot anymore. Like when they lane swap, then he'll clear this and then he'll start cycling it. Because it's not like you can never get the XP to catch back up, right? Every time you kill it, it comes back in at the average level of the game. So regardless of whether the first time you kill it is 10 minutes versus 1 minute, it's going to be worth the same XP at 10 minutes regardless, because of the way the respawn stuff works. So you can just ignore this camp and this camp and focus only on these. But the second you cycled these and then gave it up, that's when you start falling behind in XP, because he just got a ton of XP to catch up on this. We'll see what happens here. So now he's first to bot, right? So look what he's doing to bot lane, right? He's boxing you out of this, which is what you wanted to be doing to him. So because you spent all this time on topside camps that didn't matter, we could have been down here at 4:30, right? Or a little bit after 4:30 because we went top. So maybe like 4:45, 4:50. We could have been down here and we could have like warded his raptors already, so we get information on where he is, and then we're first to bot, and then maybe the reverse happens. But you go bot like twice, right? Or once, I don't remember. And then you need to like just keep going to it. It's really hard to just like pick a lane and then go to the other lane and then pick this lane again, because of how far they are away on the map. Usually like you just want to identify which lane is more important and hard play to one side, because even if this matchup is bad and starts going bad, what happens when they break the tower?
Yeah, they can swap around.
So they swap, and then this matchup no longer exists. He doesn't have to deal with it, even if it's horrible, right? How does Lucian play the game against Caitlyn Morgana?
He doesn't.
It's just impossible, right? He can't do anything. So like even if this matchup's bad, he's out of it, right? And then Darius is more useful later on as a standalone champion. The other reason why you care a lot about bot early on in the game is Dragon. And this is the only reason bot lane actually goes bot. If Dragon was topside, then bot lane would be top instead. You just put more people where the objectives are. So like you would rather get this off the map before 10 minutes so that when this spawns, you can just early swap your bot lane to top and take this. And that way you're just like putting your resources where they matter the most. But as a jungler, your main job is to put the resources where they matter the most, right? You're the person that's allowed to just move around the map as much as possible. So like wherever you are is the strong side of the map, which means you need to make sure that you know which side of the map needs to be strong and which side can be weak. Don't bounce back and forth between the two, because then you're always going to have a weak side everywhere.
Okay, so in my mind, I thought, hey, I got the Darius ahead now. Now I can stay bot lane. But I wanted to get him ahead so that Lucian can't roll him over. So in my mind, I was really successful by now, but apparently I wasn't.
Because the initial goal was bot lane, right?
Yeah.
So the second you give up pressure bot to go top, this whole thing starts crumbling, right? If every time they want to go in, you're just here, they can't die anymore, right?
Yeah, they couldn't have killed the Morgana if I was bot lane earlier, because I could have countered them.
Yep. Because now he's boxed you out. You couldn't just run straight because Garen's in here. So now it's just scary, right? You could have been doing this to Garen here. If you cut off the map from the opposite side, then Caitlyn Morgana can achieve what they want and just hit the tower. I mean, this is just one thing of knowing like what Caitlyn needs to be doing and like what her win condition is. But now that you know, right? Like every time you see Caitlyn, you just try really hard to get this lane ahead. And you'll find that like you win a lot more games with Caitlyn on your team because it's a really strong champion. You just have to play around it. And like junglers a lot of the time in Silic, you don't understand like when champions like need to be played around. So their jungler may not also understand that like he has to go to the Caitlyn lane. And you just get a free laning phase.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm a one trick. I don't really know that many other matchups. So where do I get that information from?
So this is the part that's hard, right? you can watch a lot of games. You can ask people. It's kind of just understanding what tools the champion has, right? I think a lot of the time people say, "Oh, Caitlyn has like a really weak mid game," right? And that's something that's like thrown around a lot. Just understanding that, right? Like she has to get over the mid game somehow. So either she has to be super far ahead early, or like she's never going to be useful. Like she's never going to get to 4 items if she can't play the mid game either. So a lot of that just comes with experience, right? And paying more attention when you're actually playing the game to like, okay, when do these champions feel strong? Or at least like playing the champion one time just to understand when it has its item spikes. Like, you know, like Aurelia and like all those bruisers that buy Triforce, like Jax and stuff, they all spike at Trinity Force. And then after that, like every item's a huge spike. Like Sterak's is a huge spike, GA is a huge spike. Like whatever they decide to buy after that's like a gigantic spike. But before Trinity Force, they're like not that great. So like that's also like pretty common knowledge, I guess. Like one of the really common things that people always talk about is like Triforce spike. And then ADs, it's like you have like an Infinity Edge spike, you have a 2-item spike where you get like IE Essence Reaver, or you have like IE plus Rapid Fire, and then you get like double crit items or 3-4 items, right? Like every item after that's a spike. just allowing them to get to those item spikes is like the part that matters. Like Zoe probably spikes at Ludens. Then after that, she probably spikes at like 3 items. And then after that, like it starts falling off just because of the way her kit works. Like she only hits one person at a time. Caitlyn, super long range, like rather immobile in terms of like this lane, like compared to Triss, Lulu. Triss can just jump in and like Lulu will poly her or like ult the Triss when she jumps in. Caitlyn can't play the game. So yeah, I guess it's just like understanding the tools of like all the matchups and knowing like how they interact with each other. And that just comes with paying more close attention to like your matchups as they go along. Like the more games you play, the more you pay attention to it, the more you're conscious of where you need to go. So like say in one game that you don't have a Caitlyn, you played really hard to topside. And then it didn't work out because Caitlyn was like super useless. Then next time, you know, okay, well, maybe I focus my attention on this and see how it goes instead. It's basically like trial by fire. Like you essentially just have to try a bunch of different things and see how it functions. And that's why it's okay to make mistakes like in this game. Like now, you know, next time it's like, okay, Caitlyn's like really important to tend to. Say it's a different bot lane like Xayah or Khan or something, also kind of important, but they'll always be useful. So like maybe if you had like a Jace top, you have to go to that. Like Jace, if not ahead, just starts getting run over. So that's another example of a champ that like is really useless from behind. So that's why you'll see a lot of people pick like Jace Elise and they just dive top lane over and over, or like Renekton, also very important to keep ahead in a lot of matchups. So yeah, I don't know if that really helps you because I think a lot of it's just like you have to just play more and think more about it. Like every time you're playing, it's like, how does this matchup go? How does this matchup go?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Okay, so here I did Crux first, and then I recalled because Garen could be there and wait for me to start the red, and I didn't want to face him there.
That's fine. So now here, what's the first thing you need to be doing? You have a pink in your inventory, right?
Yeah, still.
So have we got intel on Garen once this game, really?
No. Again,
No.
I have like
So-
no clue where he is.
Yeah, so that's step one, right? Figure out kind of where he is, and then we do something with that. So here, there's Crab up. This could be a place you guys could meet, but you don't really have mid priority. So maybe you could go mid after you ward like here, because you have pretty decent vision around mid. Maybe you make a play here, and then mid gets to shove up, and then you can run bot as 4 and push out all their vision here and here with 4 people. So it's just like trying to figure out where you need to go next, right? Like what's the next play? That's what you have to ask yourself. So like there's not just one option, right? You could go straight bot, you could go mid, you could go top side, you go into his jungle, you can gank top, but which one of those things is like the most important is what you have to ask yourself.
Well, I mean, Caitlyn
I'm
is
not here to tell
on
you.
her lane, so I thought probably mid lane would be the best.
Okay. So like I'm not here to tell you like you only have one option or like this is by far the best thing, right? But I just want you to think about all your different options that are possible and available to you. And start thinking about which one is the best, right? And then you just try a bunch in every game that you do. And whichever works out, like you'll start recognizing the pattern of like, oh, these are the scenarios that led up to this, and these are the factors that went into why this was a good decision. But you have to be conscious of it when you're doing it, right? You can't just autopilot and then learn from that. You have to like actually be thinking, it's like, what are my options here, right? Like a huge pattern about this entire game was like, where is Garen going next? Like, what are his options, right? I was just constantly asking you to list them out. And that's kind of what you start having to do. Sorry. And it becomes really, really important the higher up you go, just because junglers start thinking more and more about this. If you start doing it now, I guarantee like no one thinks about this until like Masters at least. So like just tracking the jungler is a huge advantage that you can have going forward. So with this, we see Garen. What do we do with this information?
Well, actually, I thought, well, you saw me pathing up and down right now because I thought, hey, Garen is top. I could go bot. But then I was like, hey, wait, it's Darius. He's not going to die that quickly. And he could actually fight them. So if I join them up, I've got my E up. I can go there pretty quickly. Maybe we can get a double kill.
So even if you kill them, well, this is going back to the thing. Even if you double kill or whatever, does this matter?
Well, it doesn't really. We don't have any objective on top.
There's no objective top side. What about here?
And there's Drake and my important bot lane. But
Yep.
I don't know, I couldn't let him die on top.
So here, just the big thing is don't hesitate, right? Pick one, stick with it. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It just you hesitating means you're getting nothing done, right? You either need to just say, I'm beelining for this, or I'm going for it. You just immediately decide. You don't have time to sit here and think, right? This is why VOD review is good, because it helps you speed up this thinking process of like which one's more important, right? So now in the future, you already have a win condition in mind, right? Going into the game, you have a game plan. And this is where it's really important, because like I said, if you don't have a game plan going into it, it's hard to adapt it, right? You can't formulate a whole game plan in 0.2 seconds when you see this happen, right? It's just impossible. If you already had a game plan, you're like, okay, bot's the most important thing. Screw this, right? We're just going straight bot, because now we know Garen can't influence it.
Yeah, if I look at it now,
going
like
just
bot lane
straight.
is pushing. They are so free. I'm level 6. I should have gone there, but I don't know why I didn't.
And you have a
So,
pink here, right? So
yeah,
like
it's
this is
free.
just so easy to go to, right? You know for sure, like it doesn't matter if this guy dies. We really don't care. Like this lane just doesn't matter as much as this lane, right? Like as soon as you were done with this, we were trying to find intel on Garen. He just gave it to us, right? So that makes our decision-making process really easy. And that's just like, why would we bash our head into a wall that's like probably not going to work, because we're at a disadvantage here, right? Like we don't get here first. So don't try to go to the play that you're going to be late to. Just make a different play. You'll see a lot of people, like when they know they're about to lose bot tower, they'll just early swap to top lane and like put 3 people top. So like the top lane and the bot lane, and just run to Herald at 10 minutes. If you watch Worlds at all, Clutch Gaming does this like almost every game. Like actually, it's one thing that's like I kind of question their decision making on it, but I can see why they think it's good sometimes. But like they'll literally just early swap every game for Herald. Like 6-7 minutes, they'll start prepping for it. So like they'll make sure their top laner has TP. They'll make sure that like people can get reset timers. They'll just swap and like go top. So they're always just making sure they're like going to the thing that matters next, right? Like the next most important play. So here it's like the most important thing is first of all getting bot line ahead and freeing them up, and then dragon, right? This is going to help us end the game. This is the like best way to end the game. So we don't care about what's going on up here because it's not 10 minutes. There's nothing for them to get either, even if they kill him. Like they can get a tower plating, whatever, right? We double kill, we get tower plates too. This is more advantageous for us because even if it's an even trade, like they kill one, we kill one or whatever, we get this afterwards. So we really don't care about what happens up here. Yeah, let's see. He doesn't even die, right? And then, yeah. So all this is time.
On my Wolves 2, they saw me coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty
all this is just time that we couldn't actually help this lane, right? When was the last time we went bot lane?
Well, I've only been there once, early level 3.
Right. So we had a bunch of time that we could have been bot, right? Like we had that 4:30 timer where this camp was up that we should have been here, and then we could have gone bot. Now we could have gone bot. You're missing all these timers that we could be using to go here. And I think part of that is just you didn't understand, like, okay, this is the plan I should have went with. So that's fine, right? I think you were thinking more of like I should help Darius, and now we know that to adjust that. So like,
I had a different game plan because I didn't know about the Caitlyn thingy, and I thought, hey, I need to help my Darius and stop the Lucian.
Yep. So here, if you have a vision set up, a lot of the time you want to try and play on your own vision, right? You'd much rather fight around here where you know where people are and who's behind them. So like here, you know who's behind, right? Because of the sword, you know who's here. We still did Garen top, and we can assume that Lulu's here, right? You want to protect your vision. So like when you put down your pinks and have a vision line like this, you want to play on top of it. So like if you literally connect the dots of where your wards are, so like we'll count this as a ward because that's essentially what it is. Here, here, here. This is basically all just marked territory. Like think about it like a fence, right? If someone tries to break into your house and like jumps your fence, you're not going to be very happy with it. So you need to stop that, right? You don't want to just concede your vision that you set up, because what does this fence protect right now?
It protects my bot and the dragon and my jungle.
So, this is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
So we need to protect this. Make sure that like you're not using your time to go do things that don't contribute to the objective, basically. Yes, running around just getting kills is fine, right? But getting kills doesn't win you the game. Getting kills is not going to snowball you to the lead, right? What snowballs you to a lead is like getting map control, positioning. So after this, what's the first thing we need to do right now? We don't know where Garen is, right? So what do we do?
Well, right now, mid lane is pinging for help because Cassie in the edge is her, so I'm running there and trying to help her. Trying to help people again.
Right. Yeah. So this is fine, right? You can go straight to this. But we don't know where Garen is. Do we know his HP bar? Because we just saw him here, right? So there's like a bunch of different things he can do.
Somewhere in his jungle, probably on top side.
Yeah, so we probably get here first, right? We can make that assumption at least. But before you go for this play, like if you're walking here, just drop your ward here, right? because that means like if Garen does come to this play, you know about it. So the first thing is find Garen, right? This may be your goal right now, but you want to make sure that when you're going to this play, no one else gets here. So you just run straight mid. See?
Yeah.
I think one thing is maybe don't use your star to like get a huge star because it like doesn't actually do that much for you.
It gives a lot of move speed. I got buffed. It's 20% now, so I can get
it?
Yeah. It's actually really damn good now.
I think it's just hard to get into range though. I've seen a lot of ASOLs like they'll ult first and then use their star afterwards. So, like they'll just E and then ult to slow and then guarantee the stun. I don't know if you've played like that before or like done that play style, but I think it might be worth trying it and just see how it goes. Because obviously like you're more experienced in this champ than I am. So like I'm not gonna tell you like do this exactly, but it's worth like looking at, right? It's worth trying it and just seeing if it works better. Because it's harder to react to. Like basically they're gonna be sitting there trying to dodge the star that's like doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, I thought I had her anyways. I didn't know she had flash up.
So with that, once you get her pushed out of lane, what's the first thing you need to do?
Well, put vision in their jungle.
So remember how I said death timers are tools that are used to get advantageous map positioning?
Yeah.
How does Zoe do that right now? What does she need to do to win her lane? What's the first thing she needs to do to win her lane here?
Oh, she's going to push out the wave now.
So do we know where Garen is right now? Can she safely push us out?
No, that's why I thought we should play support maybe.
So first things first, if you're here, it doesn't matter if Garen shows up, right? So just shove the lane with her because she needs to base anyways. This gets her tempo on the aim, right? If she bases before Cassio and pushes us in, she gets priority to move around first, right? She gets first move back to river. She can walk with you, then she can help you, right? If she's stuck here trying to push the wave, which like luckily Zoe's pretty good at pushing the wave, but like how much time it's going to take her just to like chill here.
Yeah.
So now when does she start her base? Right now. Where's Cassio already?
Yeah, she's a few seconds quicker.
Do you know how many seconds quicker this is?
I think it's 8 seconds.
Yeah, 8 seconds faster, right? So now there's 8 seconds when Cassio gets back to lane that you don't see anything on the map because she's going to push the next wave. You lose mid priority, and then consequently you lose control bot side.
Yeah, so, okay, so I should have helped her to push out the wave.
Yeah. Basically, you need to keep tempo. Do you know what I mean when I say tempo?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But you can explain it for the people watching.
Okay. So tempo is essentially who makes the next play. It's whoever has control over the next play of the game. So here, like if Zoe has the 8 seconds of tempo instead, she shoves the next wave, and then Cassio is stuck under her tower for the entire wave, right, to catch it. Then she gets to move to whatever side she wants, which relieves pressure off the map. You'll know a lot of mid laners like kind of just fade into fog. They'll push and then they'll walk to a side. And that means this lane has to back up, and if they do it to top side, they have to back up. It just relieves pressure off the whole map. And then during that time, you can set up your vision. So you can put pinks in river, you can walk in, you can check out where Garen is and not really care what he's doing, right? Because you have an extra person with you. So now if you watch what happens, she's going to be late to this base, and I want you to watch what happens now. So Cassio gets first shove on mid, right? And then you lose prio here. So then this is scary because now Cassio could be moving. Cassio could be moving here. We don't know, right? This is the issue. So we wanted Zoe to have this because she actually pushed Cassio out of lane, right? With that advantage, it's not a death timer, but it does cause Cassio to base later. So we need to use this time, like when she was shoved out, to actually push us in. And then it would free Zoe up to move right now. So this would be an opposite situation, right? If she touched the wave first, we would have the wave here instead. And then maybe we can just go bot with it and dive or something. Mm-hmm. It's hard to become proactive now. So now that like bot lane's losing really hard, it may not be a great idea to try and go bot just straight off the bat. So what's an alternate like solution we can use to do that? Like if we can't go bot 3v2, how do we go bot now? If that's still the game plan.
Well, I mean, I'd say we could go there as 5 for TP, but we don't have it. And I really don't know right now. At the moment, so my blue is respawning, so in my mind, I should go topside now, get my buffs, get my camps done, and then move bot again.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that you can do if bot lane becomes hard to just straight up gank is you go mid instead, right? Because like I was saying, mid laners like to fade to one side.
Yeah, she just lost her flash too, yeah.
So you can just go mid, right? Punish this, free Zoe up to move by shoving the wave, and then you go here, right? And then when you fight that, Zoe's already here, and then you have vision set up around here. How does Zoe like to fight?
Somewhere where many walls are around.
Yeah, she can just bubble through, right? So you just fight around dragon. You use this as like a tool, right? So you set up your fence of vision here, right? You've marked your territory. Now it's on them to walk in, and if they do, they're doing it 3v4, right? Or they're just face checking or blowing the Lucian TP. So in all those situations, in order for them to contest this, they have a bad option, right? One, they have to expend their teleport and they lose top tower, right? The other ones, they're fighting at a deficit of people, or they're fighting with no vision and walk into Zoe bubbles and combos, right? And Caitlyn traps and Morgana Qs, right?
Yeah.
Your guys' whole team fight is based on them having to walk into you because you outrange them. So you don't want to just hard engage on them because you guys don't win a straight up DPS fight. What you do win is if you just blow up one person instantly and force them to walk into you. So it's really important that you have this vision set up and you're like here to protect it. And you try and like start something like this, right? So I think the most important thing for you now is like base, go get your jungle item, and then immediately you want to go mid and try to free her up to move because now bot's a little hard to just straight up go to. Okay. So we see Garen bot side. What does that mean, right? If Garen shows here, what do we need to do on the map?
Well, he's probably going for Baron. Not Baron, Drake, because they have priority. And they're stronger right now with the 4-1 Tristana. So I don't think I can do much here.
So you don't want to go to this play, right? This might be a sacrifice. But what is up now that you can do while he's doing this? Yeah. So we should have skipped this camp, right?
Well,
Immediately
okay,
skip it because
Sol is pretty good at clearing camps while walking up next to them. I can just walk up and clearing camps while walking there, so I don't waste too much time.
So you don't waste too much time, right? But now here, you're gonna need to beeline straight to this.
Yeah,
right? And what's all this,
anyways.
right? So yeah, it doesn't matter, right? Even if like your justification for doing this is fine, we don't have a justification now because if he's on this, if we do blue, then this, he's already here, right? So we only have a small window of time now that he's bot side, maybe on this. We just have to check, right? So like you want to pink over here, set up here, like so you make your vision line here, right? You box in. This is now what you want to protect. So Zoe has shove right now. Maybe we go mid first and then start this, or we just start it right away. Those are basically your two options here. But blue is like the worst thing we could be doing right now, right? Because you already have one. It doesn't matter. You're not going to buy right now. You don't need gold. This doesn't contribute to any map control. Nothing proactive on the map, right? It's just extra time. So he's just doing dragon right now, right? Probably. Okay. So if you did set up the vision first, like here, right? We know that he's not on dragon, and then we don't care, right? Then we don't have to be in a rush. But what happens now is like we didn't check, so we have no idea, right? All we saw was the last information we had was this. So off of that, we're going off an assumption. But now, right? We don't have any control here. If we had set up the ward and like skip this camp and immediately just ran to here to pink and start doing this, we could just leave. And then we know, okay, well with that, if he does this, we'd rather have position on bot lane anyways, right? So if he's here, we just sprint straight to bot now once he shows top. So you got to catch mid wave. Let's see. And now is like, okay, we don't really know what to do because we don't have a lot of map control, right? So here, actually, you get lucky kill bot. Now, how much tempo do we have to do a play?
Oh, I can't do a play because no one's there.
So that's not necessarily true, right? You maybe can't start this, but what can you do first?
Yeah, you can set up vision again because we don't have any
set up
there.
vision. Right, you can set up vision because Trist is dead, which is a really strong member. So Caitlyn's coming back to lane. Morgana's probably going to base. So it's basically just even fight now, which is better for you guys. Probably Lulu's going to recall as well. And Zoe actually has some time to push mid here as well. So you have first shove here. You have first shove bot. Well, this is a very clear sign of like, okay, if this is the next thing on the map we need to play for, we set up our vision here. So now you want to use your wards over here or over here. And then you can start doing your camps or whatever and make a play like as soon as a lane gets back. So then just tab to your lanes, look at what's going to happen. Zoe's lane looks like it's going to be gankable soon because of the way this is going to bounce, right? So like we could maybe immediately go here. This is possibly a sneak here, but just be careful. Like I like this actually because you're behind, and it's hard for you to straight up just contest if they were to walk in. But just be careful about if someone comes, you just have to ditch it.
Yeah, I did place the ward in the jungle entrance there, and I had my E up, so yeah, I could escape with my E. but I didn't have to. I didn't know.
Nice. Okay, so with this, what's the next most important thing on the map?
Well, I mean, I'm about to clear my camps now because, well, I'm low and red buff will help me a lot to get back HP, and then.
So you can do camps now, right? But like, what's the next overarching like play that you want to make?
Well, I mean, Herald is still up, and that's the only thing we can get apart from the other turrets. And it doesn't look like we can get top lane because, well, it's Darius, and we already lost the first turret there. No, we didn't. It just looked like it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, probably Herald to get the turret.
Okay, so now we don't care about having bot lane vision anymore, right? What would it actually be really good right now is your bot lane swaps to top on this base, and you just all like go top here because Dragon's already gone, right? This tower is probably already going to die no matter what, just because your bot lane's losing. So you can use this tempo if they're going to take tower to at least trade something, right? Get this off the map so that when they swap, they don't get this as well. Like if you just keep going bot here and they lose the tower anyways, you're going to lose this Herald as well. So now you want to make the play. It's like, okay, we don't want to go to the play that's just like over, that we can't help anymore. Just make a play somewhere else, right? Like he just double killed top side, right? So you guys have a lot of control top now once he gets to push this out. And even if he bases, you get time to set up vision. So like basically what you want to do now is like, yeah, you can clear this camp, maybe clear this, then base, and then run to top side and like start setting up vision on this. And just move your pinks up.
Okay, so I could have done the call after clearing Drake immediately to send my bot lane top and hope they follow it. So we get
pretty much
Herald priority.
So even if you don't do that, right, Darius is really strong compared to these two. You can probably just force it anyways. I don't think you actually need to swap. It just helps, right? Because this tower is already dead, basically. So yeah, we don't care about this anymore. Your bot lane win condition's already over. Caitlyn is no longer the focus, right? And this is why it's important to have a game plan, and we change it. But having that game plan initially set up is really important. So now it's like, okay, we're gonna play through Darius now, because this is just not gonna happen anymore. So you can recall, go top side maybe, or just go to this. Yep. So with this, what do you do? Okay, yeah, push the lane.
Yeah, they were spam pinging me to back off, so I didn't push the whole wave, but it didn't matter.
That's fine. Yeah, you got a tower. That's all that matters. Just here, I think you need to recall first because you don't have a pink. So we can't actually contribute to like getting vision, right? It's really hard for us to do this without knowing what's here.
I wanted to try it, but yeah, it's not that smart without vision.
Yeah. So one thing to remember before you want to do objectives is a 4-step plan. So it's push, vision, push, execute. So you push your wave, right? And this is your first part about like setting up your fence, right? You push the first pull of the fence up, and then you put a ward down. That's your first like line. And then you can like kind of connect the dots, right? If you push top lane too, your fence is really solid, right? It's really far up. You kind of encapsulate the territory that you want to be in. It becomes really easy to do this. So then you can push the wave again once you set up your vision, just to ensure that it's like as far up as it's going to be, and then you make the play happen. So here you push and you execute, but we kind of skipped the vision setup part. So now if he was going to come, or Cassio was going to run straight from base to here, we have no idea. And it's become very, very risky to do this unless like our mid laner just comes, and even then it's still hard. So you just want to make sure that you have some amount of vision set up before you start this, right? So now we kind of have to deal with this, and then it just becomes, can we actually fight them? So the problem with this is our bot lane's not here, right? And this is why it's a good idea to early swap, so that this doesn't happen.
Yeah, but enemy bot lane is here now, and I didn't even notice that we're missing.
Right. So like if we had vision, we can know that they're contesting this, and we just leave.
Yeah.
Because you obviously can't contest this 3v5. So, right. So if you step any part of that like setup plan, it becomes really hard to do this stuff. So even though you got the dragon sneak, and I think it's okay to go for this when you're behind, you kind of go for the risky plays. Now that you had stabilized the game a lot because Darius was strong, you wanted to take your time and set up plays instead of just rushing for him. Like sometimes you desperation Baron or desperation whatever, right? Just because like you're never going to be able to get it regardless, so you might as well try in case they somehow mess it up. But in a game where you don't have to coin flip and you have like an advantage you can play off of, you don't need to play like risky like this. You can take your time, set up the objective, and then really play like calculated. If they put all 5 people here, what are they losing for that?
Bot lane turret.
Yeah, right. So then they actually lose map control for that. And then your next play becomes the dragon, right? And we are fine with sacrificing this. but don't contest things that you have no business contesting, right? And in order to figure that out, we need to get information first. So you had to set up first and then figure out, like, do we actually want to contest this? What's the plan when I start it? Like, am I fine with leaving it, right? Like, we were talking about this dragon where you said, like, if they come, I'm just going to leave. That needs to be here too, right? But you had a much better vision set up when you started this dragon than when you did this, because we had this huge hole. We had this huge hole in the fence, right?
Yeah.
They just walked through. We had no idea. So yeah, then it ends up getting punished for it. And this is just really easy to fix, right? So now it becomes very, very hard to play the game because we lose mid control, we lose top tower. Bot was never that useful anyways. So now it's the next major objective on the map.
Well, probably mid turret, but right now we can't push forward. So
if it's not mid turret, then what is it? If you can't push for this, then what's the next thing you care about?
To be honest, I don't know. Waiting for the enemies to make a mistake.
So you have dragon in 1:16, right?
Yeah.
If they don't take the time to set up this vision, you can set it up first. And then again, if they walk through it, you have to punish. But our first goal now is to set up dragon vision, right? We know they're going to contest it. So just setting up vision doesn't mean we have to take the fight. It just gives us the information necessary in order to take the fight, right? If we know who's there, then we can maybe look for the play. If they all 5 walk together on it, we know they're all 5 there. We can't fight it. Doesn't really matter, right? But in the off chance that someone's late or someone makes a misstep, you can punish. It's just without the information, we can't do anything. I think this is a pretty common theme throughout this whole thing. It's just like your first step before you do anything is just figure out what the next play is and get information on it. And in an early game, it's like tracking Garen a lot and figure out what camps are up and what's down. I think your pink ward usage could be a lot better in terms of like where you actually need to fill the holes. And I think that's really easy with like that line analogy I was talking about. Just figure out where you need to plug the holes in your line, right? If you care about bot lane a lot, you need to kind of like mark your territory here, right? Fence it out, box it out, whatever, and then play in it, right? But I think a lot of this is like you're using your pinks like on the objectives, whereas this doesn't really contribute to setting it up. It just guarantees that like they don't have vision on it, but it doesn't set up like them coming to fight you. It just means like you can maybe sneak it.
Yeah, true.
If they were better, they would check a lot of it, or be the first people to like set up the vision there anyways. Then you can't do it anyways. Or they'd have set up like here and like in your jungle, so that when you walk here, they're like, okay, well, where is Sol right now? We have no idea what she's doing, and you have to like play around that. So once we lose our mid tower and we lose bot tower, it becomes really hard to get control of this area, right? Because now this huge ward that we had in the middle of the lane is gone, and it becomes hard to fence it out again. So our first goal here is once we get these death timers, we somehow push out to get time on it. Once we see that Triss did this and she's late to recall, you can maybe punish, right?
Yeah, maybe, but they 2v4'd us.
Yeah. So I mean, now that she's so far ahead, it's really impossible, right?
Yeah.
And like I think this is probably just the end of the game, right? Honestly, the rest of it doesn't matter so much, and we're running out of time anyways. So I think a lot of the key takeaways from this is just tracking the enemy jungle early, right? And always being conscious of what the next play is and what actually matters. So it doesn't really matter if your idea about how to play the game is wrong, right? That's fixable. It just matters that you stick with that idea and you commit to it, because then the execution of it is what matters, right? If you said, I'm going to play to top this game, even though I may not agree with it, did you actually manage to play to top and like control vision top side and make it so that he could fully like play the game and carry? I wouldn't say that we really managed to do that either, right? So like we kind of just did both, and in trying to do both things, playing bot and top, you really didn't achieve any control, right? So usually just pick one side or pick one person, or try and like get that person ahead until like they obviously can't anymore, which is like what happened in this game. But commit really hard to making one side of the map win. Once that side of the map wins, you can break the tower, you can lane swap around, you can reallocate your resources. But it becomes really hard to do that when no one can play the game on your team, right? When everyone's behind, then you don't have any agency about where people go or where you put pressure, because no matter what you do, you're always on the back foot. So we just never want to be in that situation. And that comes with knowing it's like, okay, we need to just stay bot and box them out. Because if Garen has first move to bot every time, there's nothing we can do. If they start losing on their own and we're not here to help them when they get all in, there's nothing we can do. So you just need to try to be here every single time they were trying to go in. And then this probably doesn't happen.
True.
So I think for like homework, for going into your next couple of ranked games, it's really good to tunnel on doing like one or two things that you need to improve on. Don't try to like take everything from this and like try to fix everything at once, because it's just really hard to do that. It's hard to just somehow magically like incorporate 10 different new things that you had no idea about before. So I'd say like take a couple of key points from this and then like tunnel really, really hard on fixing them one at a time. So like your other areas of gameplay may suffer if you tunnel really hard on maybe making sure that you're getting the most optimal camp respawn timers and tracking the enemy jungle, right? If you're focused only on tracking the enemy jungle, you might suffer in terms of being able to like get ganked off. But it will teach you how to track them and like what kind of cues you need to use that information for. So like you can know it's like, okay, when he crosses this board, I know where he's going to be. His camps are up. So I know he probably wants to go to that. I need to try and figure out where he is the whole game. So like you could play 10 games only focusing on finding the enemy jungler. And then once you feel like you've gotten that down and kind of like comfortable with that, then you focus really hard on just making sure you're constantly ganking like one lane and just getting them really far ahead.